Happy Thanksgiving. It's November 28th, 2024. This Day Weather Podcast brought to you by Converse County Tourism. Douglas and Glen Rock, Wyoming are bustling with action this holiday season. Plan your excursion, including fun activities, beautiful downtowns, and historic treasures. Learn more at conversecountytourism.com. Well, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Hopefully you got to your destination safely. We'll take a look at if you're going to be traveling today or the next few days, as travel weather certainly has improved a lot. And in the western United States, I think between now and Sunday, only a couple of hiccups. For the most part, we're looking at some pretty good travel weather conditions compared to certainly the last 2 or 3 days. But it is going to be chilly. Winds aloft from the northwest will keep our temperatures a bit on the brisk side, and winds will be kind of gusty. For folks up into Montana, northern Wyoming, and the Dakotas, we're going to have some light snow and flurry activity over the next couple of days. Nothing that will amount to a lot, but enough to make roads and highways slick in some areas. We'll show you where. As we mentioned yesterday, the trajectory of all of the weather, all of the super cold air up north is going to our east. So for the interior west, the Rockies to the west coast, the Arctic air is only going to give a glancing blow. For you folks in the north central United States and the Great Lakes, you're going to get the cold. And for the most part, this is going to be a very quiet stretch of weather. When you get a big change in the weather pattern like this, especially a big release of cold Canadian air into the eastern side of the U.S., it usually takes a week to 10 days for the pattern to work its way through, readjust, before we start to see the weather come through the western states again. So we really don't have a lot happening. It's going to be a pretty quiet stretch of weather. Now, for folks in the Pacific Northwest, they're really happy about that after having to deal with that big storm. But a lot of snow and cold conditions moved into, as we know, Colorado and some front range areas from the last couple of storms over the last few days. Tomorrow we'll take a look at the updated snowpack figures and see how we're doing with that early season snowpack. In some areas, early season snowpack is leading to ski areas in some parts of the West opening early. Now, as we take a look at the winds aloft, 500 millibar chart is showing that pipeline of cold coming out of Canada and just going east-southeast into the United States. This high pressure ridge, though, is going to get cut off because these two lows are going to merge. So the trajectory of the air gets pushed more to the east, and that's what's going to happen. You can see it very well on the satellite imagery. The blue up there showing the low clouds and the very cold Canadian air pouring south into the north central United States. Winds aloft are strong right here, and there is moisture. And this is the area right underneath this band of cloudiness you see, aligned with the edge of the coldest of the air, is where you're going to see the best chance for a little bit of light snow and snow flurry activity today. Temperatures by tomorrow morning look like this. Where you see the gray color is sub-zero. Purple is showing where it's going to be in the single digits. And these lighter blue here, you're talking 20 degrees below zero Fahrenheit or colder. So you can see into North Dakota there, northwest Minnesota, northeast Montana, by tomorrow morning, it's going to be below zero. And if you step the next few days ahead, you can see the dagger of Arctic air gets pushed this way. So this is tomorrow morning, Saturday morning, Sunday morning. So you see it just kind of lined up in the same area there. That's where the cold air, the coldest of the cold, is going to be going over the course of the next 3 to 4 days. This is where the light snow could fall. This is from today through basically Sunday evening. So you can see a little bit of light snow in Montana, the Dakotas, southern Canada will continue to get light snows underneath that Arctic air. The bighorns get clipped, northwestern Wyoming's mountains as well. There's going to be a few flurries in the mountains of southern Wyoming and a few flurries all the way down into New Mexico. But really, if you're going to run into new snow and new icy road conditions, it's going to be up here, mainly today and into tomorrow, but maybe going on into early Saturday as well. So that's where travelers will need to keep an eye on things. But you can see elsewhere, conditions are going to be dry. Now, there will be a few windy spots, and there will be a few areas where there might be a little bit of blowing snow over some of the higher roads and highways where the elevations go up a little bit. There's the lake effect snow in the Great Lakes. Should be a pretty fun pattern for folks who watch the Great Lakes weather in terms of the lake effect snow. You get big lake effect snows early in the season because the Great Lakes are still warm. The water temperatures are still warm from summer and fall. And then you take that Arctic air and you put it over the water, and you've got your recipe for heavy snow showers, heavy snow squalls that could develop. Remember, the colder the air is aloft and the warmer it is closer to the ground, the more unstable the atmosphere is. So the quicker it gets colder aloft, the quicker you can get clouds to build, and especially when there's heat, some type of heat on the ground, whether it's from the water or from the warmth of the day. This is how you get afternoon and evening thunderstorms. You have colder air aloft, you have the heat of the day, the air wants to rise where it's warm, and boom, this is where you get these very heavy snow showers and snow squalls. You tend to see the heavy lake effect snow decrease as the water temperatures in the Great Lakes get colder and you start to get some ice. So it's early season is when these lake effect snows can really kick into gear. Now, taking a look at sort of the long term, we talked about how there's really not going to be much weather for a while. Well, here's the high pressure ridge in the west. So folks in Oregon and Washington and California really get a break. There won't be that much weather with this low in Southern California. And you can see the carving of the trough in the nation's midsection in the Great Lakes in the Northeast. So that's where all the weather's going to go. And this high pressure ridge is going to be pretty stubborn, and it's going to want to be there for most of next week. Now, little waves will go up, over, down, and around. We might see one of those waves kind of come in as we get into Friday of next week. But really, from this weekend through probably at least next Thursday, nada. Very little going on in the western United States with this pattern. And as I mentioned at the beginning, takes a week, 10 days, sometimes 2 weeks for this particular configuration you see right there to work itself through and for storms to start coming off the Pacific into the West Coast again. Now, what we'll see, this is by a week from this next Monday, so we're looking all the way to December 10th. This is when I think we'll start seeing weather again. We'll see the high starting to go back to the west. That will pull the jet stream further to the west and allow things in Canada and the Gulf of Alaska to start to come up, over, around, and down again. So it may not be till around the 9th or 10th of December before we start talking about significant weather again. At least that's how it looks now. Now, once we get after the 10th, well, the door to the Pacific starts to open up again and the weather gets busy in the west. But until then, not a lot going on, just kind of chilly and breezy. Have yourself a happy Thanksgiving. We'll see you tomorrow.